Ah, yes, another glorious morning, or week, or day, or I mean, if this is like that time in your life where you're like, today's the day where I'm starting fresh, cheers to that. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to an all new episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. I am your hostess with the absolute mostest in mental instability, Emily Doll. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you very much. A lot of people say that they don't really understand how I am super mentally fucked up because I'm really good at masking. Yeah, it's one of my greatest coping mechanisms. So let's get a round of applause for me being really good and making myself look all together. I've spent a lot of years improving on this craft. Thank you very much. This week on Monday Coffee with the Doll, we're just going to be shooting the shit, talking about like we always do. We're going to talk a little bit about some things that the Doll fam left in the comments. We're going to be talking about some crazy GD headlines, and we're also going to be talking about a really awesome new small business that is brought to us by a very young little entrepreneur, and it will be the youngest small business owner Monday Coffee has ever featured. So last week was a pretty busy week. I did a lot of editing, and I've been doing a lot of like collecting of just like organization of projects and things that I'm doing. I also launched last week my one-on-one coffee dates. So that went really well. I had an amazing individual. She contacted me and she booked one of my one-on-one coffee dates, and she was like, hey, I have a pinup pageant that I'm about to do, and it's the first pinup pageant that I've ever done, and I'm really nervous, and I just needed somebody that I could go over, everything with, just to make sure I have it together and I feel like I have it together. And I was like, of course, I would love to be the person that helps you do that. And I have a lot of experience in that stuff, even though it's not something that I actively do myself anymore. It's something that I have a ton of experience in. So I'm always excited to help kind of relieve nerves and stress from ladies who are seeking somebody to kind of help them feel less nervous, because it does take a lot of guts to put yourself out there and get involved in pinup pageants and pinup contests and things like that. I've judged them. The only pinup pageants or like contests that I've ever done is I did some like online Facebook like contests early in my career. But then ultimately I decided that wasn't going to be my focus, because it wasn't where I wanted to put my focus. I'm not a competitive person. I never have been. So like, it's just not a desire of mine to put myself in that environment, but it does like prickle all of my like negative things. Like, it gives me a lot of anxiety. It gives me a lot of stress. So even when it came down to like Facebook like contests, I was like, this isn't for me. I'm gonna put my efforts into some other areas. So for those who actually participate in those and get ready for those and put themselves through that, I think that's a really big deal, and I'm always really inspired and proud of the women who go forth and partake in these things, because it really is. It's a lot. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of like collecting yourself so you can put this show on and like present yourself the way you need to for the pageant itself. And, just there's a lot that goes into it. So if I can ever help anybody be more prepared for that, I'm your girl. But also, it's not like a one style one-on-one. I offer a lot of different things. So you can contact me about really anything. If you feel like I'm the type of person that could help you through a situation, whether it be social media stuff, content creating, pinup stuff, modeling stuff, pageant stuff, photography, editing, building your sites, your platforms, I'm always here to share what I know, because knowledge is power and sharing is caring. And I like to share the knowledge I have with you so we can be more powerful together and individually on our own. So if you guys want to book a one-on-one coffee date, I'm your girl. You can find all that shit on my link tree. I have a whole bunch of stuff you can do on my link tree. Check it out. There's a lot of branches. Go over there and shake my tree, if you will. There's a lot of cool shit over there that you can get involved in, reach out, contact. But it's all there. It's all linked below. So yeah, there's that plug. All right, so now we're going to get into, I think, what would be a really good segment of the show, because it kind of gets you guys more involved. And that is, what should I talk about on this week's episode? And I post it on my Facebook page, and you guys can leave comments and let me know what you want me to talk about, because that's what the whole point of this show is. We like to interact. So if you see me looking down, it's because I got my computer, not because I'm looking at my crotch, but because I'm looking at the comments that y'all left. And so I try to basically pick a couple, maybe not like a shit ton, but I do talk about what I pick out. Last week I talked about, most of the comments were all about rockabilly, so I talked about rockabilly and hot rods and rockabilly music. And then I had a beautiful lady who's followed me for a really long time ask if I could talk a little bit about being a single mom. So this week, what do we got in the comments? So this week we have from Richard Cranium. He sounds like a good time. He said toxic human. Oh, well, I don't know, they're a raccoon. I'm assuming their gender based off their first name, but anybody could be a dickhead, am I right? So they said toxic human behavior. So we're just going to start there. I think that due to society, I think that most environments are placating to, and just like a cesspool to breed toxic human behavior. I think that the more that we remove ourselves from face-to-face real-life interactions, and the more that we only communicate through social media platforms, like I'm doing right now, I think that ultimately it's really damaging to a lot of people's brains, and it caters to people being less capable of really interacting in healthy ways, because let's be honest, the way that people are allowed to interact online is horrific. And for a lot of people, that's where they spend most of their time. So when they are out of control in their real lives, and they can feel more in control through this kind of false sense of being in control, or being a boss, or having control over something. You can see that by how people use the block button, right? Like, people love to use the block. It takes a lot for me to block somebody. I'm not just going to block you. Like, I cannot interact with you. You know what I mean? I can unfollow you. But it's always funny to me how so many people will use the block at any expense. Even at just like the smallest disagreements, right? It's not enough to like unfriend somebody or stop interacting. They like have to block. It's like, I have control over this. I'm cutting off communication entirely. And I think that there's a lot of situations where it's very necessary, but I also think that it's kind of like this false sense of control for some people, where they feel like now it's all in their hands. Like, I have completely cut off communication, and there's no way now for you to say anything to me in any way, shape, or form. And I think a lot of people get off on that control. But I think that, you know, toxic human behavior is something that's being bred heavily throughout society right now. And I think that unfortunately it's also catered to in a lot of ways. You see, you know, a lot of like big figures, big names, people of power catering to really toxic mindsets, and catering to such like separation between human interaction and human contacts, between like freedom of speech and freedom of expression and freedom of sense of self. And I think that, you know, the more that we limit and control, looks like I'm milking a cow. That's super erotic. Sorry, that's my ADD. I think that, you know, that creates just so many barriers, and we really do allow people to behave toxic throughout social media. I think that, you know, places like Facebook itself is a really great show of that, because Facebook itself, in one of its community guideline changes, I read an article where they specifically stated that they make their rule change and like their guidelines difficult to follow, because they don't want people to be able to correct their behavior. So that way they can catch them in their behaviors, and then they can hold them accountable and block them. And that's really ridiculous, because what you're saying is that you want to make rules, and for the people who follow those rules and change their behavior to follow those rules, you want to be able to punish them. And that's crazy to me. They're not going after the people who blatantly will break the rules and behave so absolutely grotesque online, but they will go after the people who are trying to follow those rules but they want to still be able to hold them accountable. So I think that there's just a lot of toxic fueling with online interaction. And I also think that with the heightened sense of self through social media platforms and everybody feeling like they're somebody because of their pages and based off of their likes, based off of their friends, based off of their followers, you have a lot of people that get these false sense of entitlement that then they start breeding that negative behavior, and then other people follow them and they follow that negative behavior, and then they start acting like those people. So that's why I think for somebody like me, if you have a platform, if you have people listening, it's 10 times more important to make sure that what you're talking about is focused and you're not hurting anybody. I think that there's a way of like speaking your piece and giving your opinions, but I think that one of the things that a lot of people online fail to really pay attention to is, are they hurting other people or are they encouraging other people to hurt other people? And content can very much do that. And that's why I think like the influencer community is so toxic, because it really does fuel a false sense of identity and what makes somebody important or what makes somebody beautiful or what makes somebody, you know, a big deal, especially in the beauty influencer community, because that's what I was a part of. I can't really speak on any other community because I don't know, and I don't like speaking on things that I don't know about. But when it comes to the beauty community, as far as influencers go, it very heavily breeds a false sense of beauty, a false sense of who is acceptable, who's good enough, who isn't good enough. And because those things gain so much traction and they hold such a strong standing in our society, they start to affect and warp people's brains and how they perceive and how they think about things. So I think I'll say in closing on this topic, for toxic human behavior, I think that one of the biggest things that we need to focus on is self-awareness. I think that the more self-aware you are of your own behavior, the more you're able to see it in other people, so then you can judge if those are people you want to be around. We can't control people. You know, it's not your job to constantly be policing other people's behavior. I think that there's areas that at times we can call out and correct and hold accountable. And then I also think that there's a lot of pressure through society now that says that we constantly have to be policing people and that we constantly have to be correcting people and holding people accountable. And that's just mentally, you can't do that. And I think a lot of people function in today's society where they constantly feel like they have to be these advocates for literally everything all the time. And it's just overwhelming. So it's one thing to be like, hey, this is shitty behavior, you can't do this, this is toxic, here's my boundary and I'm not allowing it. And by putting up those boundaries, it's like a check at that person. And if more people would put up boundaries with toxic humans and keep those boundaries up, and those people kept facing those boundaries, maybe then ultimately they'd start doing some self-reflecting and change the behavior inside of them. Because until people decide and recognize that they're the problem, you can't do anything. No. All right, so the next on our list is from, I'm assuming your name is Arhen, Ahren. Arhen, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm just an asshole, right? I'm sure you've had people pronounce your name wrong your entire life, and you're probably tired of that shit, and now I'm just on the list. So I apologize. Car show season and progress on Edsel. So car show season is upon us. You know, spring is coming. I don't give a shit about football season, but I definitely give a shit about car show season. I don't get out to a lot of car shows. You know, I got a lot of kids. We got a lot of animals, and me and my husband are kind of like the captains of the ship. So there's not a lot of traveling far from home for us. As soon as our kids get a little bit bigger, we definitely want to be able to do that more. The Texas thaw is coming up. It's, I believe, on the 11th. And I really wish that I could go to that. And someday I will definitely be taking Edsel to that car show, if none other. That car show means a lot to me. It was the first car show ever that hired me to come down to be like their official pinup of the show and just kind of like represent the show and be the main chick there. And it made me feel really big, and I was going through a lot of shit in my life. So it was just really rad. But more importantly, that's where I met my husband for the first time. And I have some like really cool pictures that I looked up the other day because they were in my memories, and I want to do a TikTok and kind of like go through them because I think it's a really rad kind of reel. But there are a lot of car shows, and I would highly suggest that you go to them. If you love the scene, if you love hot rods, if you love rockabilly, if you love pinups, car show season is upon us. There's usually groups that you can find local car shows around your town. And there's also really big car shows that go on, like really, really big ones, like Lone Star Roundup is a huge one. Daryl Starbird just did in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They just had theirs last week before last, and that one's a really badass one. The Stray Cat 500 in Dewey, Oklahoma is coming up. Viva's coming up, but I mean, you have to be a really cool person to get to go to Viva, or you get shit on. I won't be there. I'm not cool enough. That's another story for another day. Progress on Ethel. She's doing good. Ethel runs and drives, but she's a little congested. So the last time the only time that I drove Ethel around the block, she just didn't seem to be getting enough fuel. So I really had to keep the pedal down to get her to go, and anytime I stopped, she'd stall out. So, she definitely has a couple of health issues that I'm dealing with. I just ordered a whole bunch of parts, so I'm going to be doing a tune-up on her and changing her spark plugs and her wires, and she just had an oil change right before she got here. And I haven't even had her a year yet, so, which is crazy to think about because I feel like I don't know life without her. But she's definitely not ready just yet for that. So I'm going to do a full tune-up on her with the parts that I got. Her valve gaskets need to be changed. I have a teeny tiny exhaust leak, and I can hear a little tick, tick, tick. But other than that, I'm going to take care of those things and then kind of see where she's sitting. I'm trying to get it to where she runs really healthy and strong, and then worry about like cosmetic things. But my main focus is definitely getting her strong and steady so she can take me to the grocery store. Like, really, that's my goal. If I can get her to take me to H-E-B, which is like the only place that I go, that's my goal. And then it'll be an excuse to get to go to the grocery store without my kids because she doesn't have any seatbelts. Yes, I'm thinking those deep thoughts. But she's going to be ready soon. And I document all of the work that I do on her. I have another YouTube channel. Make sure that if you like to watch that type of stuff, make sure you go follow her channel. That's a Ford Edsel Ranger on YouTube. I got an Instagram for her, and I also got a link tree for her. All of that's below. You guys can check it out. If you guys want to be a part of her progress and a part of her history and donate to her car care, you can sponsor her. You can sponsor some videos. You can sponsor some of her care, and be a part of that. Be a part of keeping another Edsel on the road. Be a part of Edsel history. Yes, you can. So all that's below if you want to get involved. But she's doing good. She's not going to be making it to any car shows just yet. This won't be her season, but maybe next year I'll be able to get her to some closer shows. Maybe the Texas Thaw, because I do believe that's like the closest large show that I'm near. But hopefully by this summer I can at least do a beach cruise. I'd like to cruise down Galveston. I'd like to cruise some beautiful beach sunsets. That's my main goal by this summer, and I really hope to meet that goal. All right, what else do we got here? Gary Franco Roberts. What up, Gary? Gary. Sorry, SpongeBob reference. My brain wouldn't let me get out of there with that one. Your next calendar or merch. Okay, so I have a merch shop. That's below. It always has fun merch in it. I haven't made any like new merch in a while, but I do have a merch shop. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. I make a lot of my own. Some of them are just like photos, but a lot of designs are things that I've mocked up and made myself. There's some stuff of Ethel on there. I need to find a better merch shop. So if you guys know of any better merch shops, if any of you are merch sellers, drop them in the comments because I could definitely use a better merch shop. The one that I'm using is good. I just feel like it's probably less known, and I think that there's probably better ones out there, and I'm always looking for something better for you guys to make sure that you guys get the most out of it. So yeah, I have a merch shop. It's called it's called the Doll Swag Shop. I'm not the dog. I'm not hunting anybody's bounties, okay? And if I was, I would be more like the Mandalorian, not Dog the Bounty Hunter. I don't think I'm as stylish as Dog, okay? But I feel like I am as solemn as the Mandalorian. So, and as far as calendars go, I just removed my last calendar off of my link tree. I did do a calendar this year, and by the end of February it was slowing down orders, so I pulled it because unless people, like if somebody asks me, hey, do you have a calendar, I'll definitely get one made up for you. So if you do want a calendar, contact me, and I'll make you feel special and I'll do it just for you. That's right. But other than that, you know, the problem with calendars is that they're really fucking expensive. They're expensive to make. They're a pain in the ass. And it's just one of those things that I have to charge you guys so much that I don't, like, a lot of times people are like, because it's a lot to make. The shipping costs a lot. So for me to get it all done and it be, you know, worth my while, because, you know, I can't eat giving away calendars for free, or I fucking would, but I can't. So for it to be, you know, beneficial for you guys, beneficial for me, it's a hard thing to do. Calendars are a pain in the ass, and, you know, working decades in the pinup scene, calendars are a big deal, you know, because it's just kind of an iconic staple, but it is a hard thing to do efficiently and cost effectively. But I'm not against it. I don't know if I'm going to do another calendar next year. I might, if I have enough inquiries. I had a lot of people asking about them. That's why I did one this year finally. I hadn't done one in a really long time. So I might do a calendar again. I might try to do something a little more simple. Maybe do like just like a poster size with like all the months underneath, if I can figure out how to get that printed nicely. But I'm not too sure on that. I'm not too sure. It's a little early in the year, Gary. Don't stress me out like this, man. I'm not ready. But I do have a merch shop. You guys can get stickers, cups, shirts, hoodies, bandanas, magnets. There's all kinds of cool shit on there that you can order with my face on it, or a cool design that I've made. So that is also all linked below. All right, so let's get this Monday Coffee with the Doll presents what's going on in these GD headlines, news with the doll, and talk about some of the crazy shit that I see in the headlines. I think one of the craziest things that has been in my newsfeed recently has been the young woman who thinks that she is Maddie McCann. Do you guys remember the story of the little girl who was kidnapped and went missing while her parents were on vacation, and the parents left her and the other kids, or like her brother, asleep at the hotel, and they all left to go down for dinner and drinks. And then when they came back up to check, the little girl was gone. And it was one of those like viral, crazy, all over the news stories. She was only like 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, when she was kidnapped. Now, this happened over in Europe. This isn't an American story, but it definitely took over here just as much as anywhere else. If you don't know about the story, you're going to have to look it up, because it's one of those crazy rabbit hole stories. There's just so much information. There's so much about it. But Maddie McCann is definitely one of those stories that once you watch, there's even a Netflix documentary on it. Once you watch it, it's pretty trippy, because, I don't know, I think that it's really difficult with these types of things, because the more you look into all of the content that's created around the evidence, it starts to really mess with your brain, because you have a lot of the like legitimate reports and things that are being put out by police, and what the FBI is doing, what police are doing, what authorities are doing. And then when you as an individual start looking at everything yourself, there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't add up. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense. For a long time, there's been tons of conspiracies about what happened to her, and even putting her parents in the middle, saying that they themselves sold her to elite pedophile rings, which, wait, I don't think I'm supposed to say that word. I think that can get my video flagged. But, you know, there's always that type of stuff. Well, this was like over a decade ago. This was a long time ago. And recently, out of nowhere, there's a young woman by the name of Julia from Poland claiming that she may be Maddie McCann. And, you know, here's the thing. You see a lot of this kind of stuff. There's like tons and tons of things all over the internet comparing this young woman to her. I'm going to just show you guys this. Right, the girl is claiming that she is little Maddie. And when you go through all of her claims, you know, she has a TikTok, and she is posting tons of content where she thinks that things are similar to Maddie. Now, she's somebody who does not know a lot about her early life when she was younger and really feels like she does not know where she came from, and there's all this like suspicious stuff. But she does have some similarities. Like Maddie McCann has like in her iris a little defect, and this young girl has it too. She was like lining up her moles and saying she has moles that are similar. People have been like putting her pieces of her face at different ages alongside Maddie's parents to try and show similarities in facial structure according to like the parents' facial structures. And there's just been a whole bunch of stuff. Now, here's the thing. Last year, the year before, they were thinking that they had solved this case, and they had found a man who had been brought in because that he was a predator. He's somebody that they said that they had a lot of evidence that speculated that he's the one that kidnapped her and was ultimately the one that did her undoing, right? So you have to be careful what you say on YouTube or you get flagged. So I'm trying not to say anything stupid. So this was really big last year, and they were really excited. There was tons of buzz about they finally think that they had caught the man who kidnapped and murdered her, and they were finally going to be able to close the case. But now all of a sudden, that kind of never went anywhere. It's like they would do all this investigating. There'd be all these news stories. Everything would be really ramped up, but then nothing really would come of it. And ultimately, they didn't have enough evidence to convict this man for her disappearance, and now all of a sudden this young girl is claiming that she could be her. Now here's the thing, have you guys ever seen those videos or like read the blogs where they go and they find somebody that's like your exact doppelganger from another country, and then they put these two people together and you literally look identical, right? They go out and they find somebody from another country that you have no connection to, and they'll put these people side by side and they will literally look like the identically same person, and it blows your mind because you're like, how is that possible? So I mean, it's always possible for people to look like people. Here is her as a young girl next to Maddie as a young girl. Check that shit out, right? So, I mean, I guess, sure, they both look like two little girls. They look like they could be sisters. Sure, they look like they could kind of be related. I don't think that that looks like her, like, grown. I think that the eye shape is extremely different. I think Maddie has way bigger, rounder eyes. But in my opinion, that kind of stuff just doesn't matter because, like I said, people can look similar all the time. So what it came down to is it's like, well, just do a DNA test. Why are we dragging this out? Why are we wasting all this time? So then all the news reports changed, and they were talking about how they were going to do a blood test, a DNA test. And Maddie McCann's family, her parents were like, yes, let's do it. This girl who claimed to be Maddie, grown, said, yes, let's do it. And then all of a sudden, this young girl talked to her medium psychic that she met who said, maybe we shouldn't. And now that's not happening. Then, but wait, there's more. This young woman's family came out, her parents came out and said that there is no way that their daughter is Maddie McCann, that they have her birth certificate, that they're her parents, that she's just extremely mentally ill. And that she's just, doing this for not, I wouldn't necessarily say it's attention, because I think that if somebody is willing to create and fabricate such a story to this degree and attach themselves to a story that's been such a ginormous story for so long, there's clearly something mentally disheveled, right? It takes somebody who's really struggling up here to fabricate such an illusion. So for them to come up with something, I don't think it's necessarily, she just wants attention, because it's clearly not that. Like, you really have to be mentally detached to create such a story, and this woman, I think, really needs help. I don't think that this young woman is Maddie McCann, and I think ultimately what we have here is somebody who has a complex that does feed on attention in a way. She has massively increased visibility across her social media pages. This woman now has millions of followers on TikTok. And if she's monetized her TikTok account, she's making a lot of money off of the views that she's getting from posting claiming to be this. I can't say if she really thinks that she is Maddie. I'm not in her head, so I don't want to speculate and be like, I don't think she thinks, I think she's playing everybody. I think that this is just a really maybe mentally distraught young woman who has created a situation for whatever her reasons being. But I do think that it's absolutely insane of a situation, because the Maddie McCann story has always been McCann, whatever. I don't know which. I've heard it say both ways. I guess it depends on if you're in here or in Europe. But this unsolved mystery has been one of the biggest of all time in history. Anybody who's into true crime and into this stuff knows the story, has watched the documentaries, knows the conspiracies. So for this to pop up was even crazier than last year when it popped up that they thought that they found the man that had kidnapped her and murdered her. So in my opinion, we still have absolutely zero answers of what happened to Maddie McCann. We do not know. I do not think that this young woman is any relation to her. I think she's just a woman that needs a lot of love and help, because to fabricate something like this, you know, there's a lot going on up there that needs attention for sure. But I think that harboring the idea that she's Maddie McCann and making such a viral spectacle of it is unnecessary. I think that authorities just need to try and, like, she was all about getting a DNA test. That would solve it easy peasy. And the fact that they out of nowhere decided not to go through with it, I think kind of shows that maybe she knows that that would have ended the situation that she created, because she's not. But what do I know? Right? Maybe she is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's Maddie McCann grown, and in a few weeks something will come out and we will actually know if it's her or not. So, but I think that this is just an absolutely crazy turn of events. Whew, yeah, so with that, I don't know what's going on with that GD headline, because it smells a little fishy to me. That's right. But you know what doesn't smell fishy? You know what doesn't smell fishy? Sleeping Dog coffee beans. That's right. And you know what else doesn't smell fishy? This amazing plug that you're about to watch. So get ready for that. Hello. Are you tired of waking up in the morning to musty, old, dirty, blah bean juice? Are you looking for beans that'll get you up howling in the morning and ready to stick your nose to the ground and start your day? Well, have no fear. Have no fear, because Sleeping Dog coffee beans are here. Sleeping Dog coffee beans. The beans that'll get you up howling in the morning like you were up late howling at night. Ding. It's not inappropriate. It's really good coffee. It's really good coffee. And if you check below, there's a coupon code to get 5% off your first bean order. There's a reason I drink this stuff. It's doggone delicious. All right, so we're going to close out this week's episode with a small business. That's right, we didn't have a small business last week because I was getting ready for this one. But we do have a small business this week, and it is the youngest small business owner that we've ever featured on Monday Coffee with the Dolls Hot Pot of Support, a small business spotlight. So this week we're going to be putting a spotlight on a entrepreneur of sorts, a small business owner by the name of Abby. She's 13 years old, and she has a page called Turtles, Roses, and Faith, and it's really cute. She has her Facebook page. She just recently launched her website. She's getting her business going. She has a lot of really amazing items that she is putting up for sale. Now, this is a really fun small business because I love the just kind of like the genuineness of what it is to start a small business when you're young, right? And she's got a lot of really cool things going for herself. And I think the thing that I admire and appreciate the most about Abby is that she's doing the damn thing. Okay, she's only 13 years old. She's got school, she's got friends, she's got life that she's navigating, but she's got a great support system at home with her, her family, and she has people who inspire her in the industry. She's a friend of the Pinned Up Doll owner, Vivian, who we've talked about in Hot Pot of Support in the past, and she just has a lot of really cool things going on. She does custom pieces, she does custom items that you can talk to her about, that you can have her create for you, and she also has a lot of really cool shit that she just creates and puts out on her own. So this week on Monday Coffee with the Dolls Hot Pot of Support, we are going to be putting a spotlight on this young small business owner and entrepreneur's business. So I really hope that you guys take the time to give her support and show her what the Doll Fam Love is all about, because she's just starting out and she's really going to need it. So you guys are going to have to make sure tomorrow, after you guys, it always releases the day after on Tuesday, make sure that you guys are watching out for this week's episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll presents a hot pot of support, a small business spotlight, because we are going to be making this girl shine bright like a diamond. Like Rihanna said, we're just lots of shining bright, less coochie smelling. That pisses people off, but we're definitely going to be uplifting the small business. Do you smell what I'm stepping in? All right, so that's going to be it for this week's episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. I feel like I've been a little bit more collected this episode, so maybe it won't be 45 minutes, but I also have absolutely zero faith in the fact that I controlled my chatterbox talking, and it's probably going to be 45 minutes. So whoever is actually watching this show and hanging out for the entire 45 minutes, I really appreciate you. I really love you. I appreciate the fact that you're watching my content and that you're encouraging me to make more, because it's really one of the main things that helps my own mental stability. So you're kind of like my therapist that's humoring me in the ways that I cope. So hats off to you for taking on this mess. But hey, you can be a part of Monday Coffee with the Doll. There's a lot of ways to get connected with me below. You can reach out to the show. You can write in something deep that you need some unbiased, unfiltered help with. I'm your girl. So you can find that below. You can also, if you're a small business, reach out and get your small business featured in the next episode of a hot pot of support. It's brought on by this chaos of a show, but it's really good because it's just all about small businesses and making sure that they get the attention that they deserve to counteract all the abusive algorithms that social media puts on them. Yeah, I like to fight abuse of all forms, whether it be mental abuse of myself and others or abuse towards small businesses, because I think that small businesses really are the bread and butter of our country. I really love them. So, but that's going to be it for this week's episode. If you left a comment on my Facebook page when I asked to leave a comment for a topic of the show, thank you to all these folks for doing so. I really appreciate you guys feeding the monster that is me and being involved in the chaos. Without you, where would I be? But also I want to thank all of my viewers and everybody who likes and comments and shares my show. Helping support my content helps elevate my content and helps me keep growing as a content creator, which seems to be my ultimate purpose in this world, is to create content that entertains you all. Make sure that you're checking out all of my social media pages because I post a lot of fun on there all week long. Make sure that you're checking out Ethel, the Edsel, because she's always looking fine as hell. And also remember, most importantly, that sharing is caring and knowledge is power. And the more that we share with each other, the more that we can grow in power together as we learn to make peace within ourselves so we can walk in love with others better. But most importantly, remember that these are the days that fill your week. Make them as amazing as you are. They have a lot to keep up with. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Words are just words until action actually starts. And actions speak louder than words, but at the same time, words speak louder than actions because sometimes it's the right thing to do. Very cool. Okay,